With House Speaker Mike Turzai dropping out of the governor's race, there are now 3 candidates remaining for the GOP nomination. Candidate Laura Ellsworth joins us now on the Fox 43 Capitol Beat. Ms. Ellsworth, thank you for stopping by this morning. A Pittsburgh area lawyer, no political experience. Why are you qualified to be Pennsylvania governor?
Because I actually have a lot of political experience. For the last 10 years or so, I've worked from the private sector on these political issues. From Western Pennsylvania, as you know, the business community and the leaders of that community have partnered with the public sector to get things done in Western Pennsylvania, to create the renaissance that brought it back from dead in the water in 1980 when I first moved there to now one of the most livable places in the country.
Why make this jump to governor, though, instead of, say, a more localized state office?
Because what we did in Western Pennsylvania could and should happen in every community across Pennsylvania. And the governor is the one who can deliver for all Pennsylvanians what we've been able to deliver working together in Western Pennsylvania for the last 15 years. And as somebody who lived that, led that, worked hard, and knows the people who are working hard in the community, I think it's time that we deliver that for the people of Pennsylvania, and that's why I'm running.
The Pennsylvania Republican Party decided to endorse Scott Wagner, and once that happened, Mike Turzai dropped out. You're still in it, though. How difficult is it moving forward to continue your campaign over the next few months when you don't have the backing of your party?
I never did this for the party. I did this for the people of Pennsylvania. And so I can continue on talking to them, meeting with them, traveling across the state, and understanding what their issues are. And as you may know, I didn't request the endorsement. I said I don't think that this is about parties or politicians. This is about people. And so I'm going to continue focused on people, talking to them and understanding what their issues are. And those are the people that I want to serve.
How much of a challenge is it when you go at this with the financial disadvantage, when you compare the millions of dollars that they're spending, Paul Mango and Scott Wagner, compared to the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you have in ad sales?
I don't think that the voters of Pennsylvania should only be able to vote for millionaires. I think they should be able to vote for the people who are experienced and qualified and dedicated to lead them.
But they are getting their name out more. So how much of a challenge is that for you to get your name out so that the people of Pennsylvania can know more about you?
One of the things is doing things like this. You're giving me a chance to get my voice out, and I appreciate that. I don't think that 30-second TV ads are much of an asset to the voters of Pennsylvania. I don't think they provide the information that voters need. What we're going to be doing is going out in person, talking about substantive issues on television with voters live and in person across the state, participating in debates. We're not going to pull out of debates. We're going to do debates because we think people have an opportunity and a right to show up and ask the candidates what they think.
You've been vocal about not voting for Donald Trump in the 2016 election, writing in John Kasich's name instead. Why did you do that? And do you think that admission has hurt your chances with the party and getting their support?
The reason I did it is because I campaigned for John Kasich. I raised money for John Kasich. I was on his finance committee, and so I voted for John Kasich. And I think there are many things that the president has done that I agree with, that I think are really good for this country. As a lawyer, I know that Gorsuch is a superb candidate. The other judicial candidates, superb. We needed tax reform. We needed to do things for our military. I do a lot of work with veterans across the country, and this president has done more for veterans in his few months in office than Obama did in all of his terms. And so those things are important, and those things I believe in. And as somebody who didn't vote for him, I can say that. And one of the things that's really important to me in this race is we are so polarized as a nation and as a state. We are at different odds shouting each other across the divide, and that has to stop. And one of the reasons I got into this race is because everything I have done, whether it is on tax reform, pension reform, infrastructure, education across this state, all of those things I have done, it was always important to me to bring everybody together. Whether they are Republican or Democrat or Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, rural, it doesn't matter to me. If you have a desire to get things done for the people of Pennsylvania, come around this table and let's figure out how to get things done. Stop the shouting, stop the yelling, let's just focus on what needs to get done. And that has resonated with the people of Pennsylvania. And what I think they responded to is what I believe, which is you talk to people like they're smart, you don't talk to them like they're stupid, you don't look them in the eye and tell them that the politicians are doing a great job when we the people look right and left and know differently. And so that's what people have responded to, and people have respected that I was trying to do what I thought was best for the people of my state and my country.
One of the biggest topics nationwide, let alone Pennsylvania right now, is gun legislation reform after what happened in Florida last week. In terms of Pennsylvania laws, would a Laura Ellsworth governorship advocate for stronger gun safety legislation in PA?
I think there are a lot of things that can be done to address the problem that happened in Florida. One of them certainly is school safety and other things on school safety. I think there is also a lot that can be done in the mental health world, because all of the shooters that we have seen are all mentally ill young men. Those are the people that we have seen participating in those acts. I think we need to empower families to get help for their family members when they see this happening. And I think we need to strengthen the provisions that are already in place in the law in Pennsylvania and elsewhere that prevent mentally ill people, seriously, dangerously mentally ill people, from getting automatic weapons. There are already procedures in place. We saw those in Florida. We saw failures in those systems. We need to strengthen those systems, and we need to work more effectively with the platform providers who see this bubble up online. And there are many ways that we can be much more effective about seeing these people and intersecting with them and addressing the mental health problem that is actually what's causing these issues.
You've said the way that the state currently draws its congressional maps through the legislature is a flawed process. You advocate for a bipartisan committee. How does a bipartisan committee work in your minds? I mean, wouldn't there be some form of power one way, shape, or form in a committee? How do you ensure that it is truly equal and bipartisan?
I think if you leave it to the politicians, they will do what is best for the politicians, right? They will do what is best for the politicians, not necessarily for the people. That's why if it's bipartisan, and if it includes citizens, regular citizens, not just politicians, I think you are more likely to apply the constitutional factors that are being articulated now, both at the state level and the federal level, and to get a fair playing field that makes everybody's vote count. And I have been a proponent of amendments to the Pennsylvania Constitution to do a couple of things. Number one, to have no budget, no pay. If we don't have a balanced budget on time, neither the legislature nor the governor gets paid until we do. To have a commission formed of citizens who is bipartisan that will decide how these congressional districts ought to be drawn and will decide very clearly how disputes get resolved. That ought to be planned out in advance and not be left to the process that is causing chaos now.
And I believe there is a bill currently in the Senate from Senator Boscola and Senator Scavello, which does just that, letting, I guess, people know that there is legislation currently in the Senate which would do just that, form a bipartisan committee.
And can I just,
sure.
Some of the other things that I think we need to do at the structural level, we have a constitution that has not been amended since 1968. So we're living in Austin Powers world constitutionally, right? I think we need to look at the legislature. I think we need to reduce the size of the legislature. I think we have to have term limits, because if people are only there for a finite time, they're more likely to get something done while they're there. And I think we need to have a part-time legislature, because I think we need legislators living in the world that we all live in, subject to the laws that they pass.
Are you concerned that Pennsylvanians, because those are borderline radical views compared to what Pennsylvanians are used to, are you concerned that they will get on board with those type of views, aside from the shrinking of the legislature, which is being discussed right now? But part-time legislators is something that doesn't exist right now.
There's a lot of discussion right now about shrinking the size of the legislature, all right, and making it. We have the largest, most expensive full-time legislature in the country, And I don't think we're getting our money's worth. And as I go across the state of Pennsylvania, it's not a radical idea. People want government to be responsive to their views. And what we have now, whenever I go up to Harrisburg and I advocate whatever my issue is, the leadership will look me in the eye and they will say, if you give a politician the choice between doing something and nothing, the politician will do nothing every time, because you can't get unelected for doing nothing. And they're right. And we need to change that. We need to incentivize our legislators to get things done. There are so many things that need to be getting done in this state. And our legislators should be worrying less about how they get elected next. They should be worried less about how little they can do so they can get elected again. They should be incentivized to get things done. And if they are term limited, they will be more incentivized to get things done while they're there to help the people of this state. And I find that across the state, people are tired of being excluded from the political process, and that's why I, as a private citizen, am getting involved now, because the people need our government back. We need to own it, and we need to be a part of it, and we are sick and tired of being told by politicians that we don't know how to run our business, because we know how to run it better than they do, and it's time that we did that.
Republican candidate for governor, Laura Ellsworth, joining us on the Fox 43 Capitol Beat. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Fox 43 Morning News. We'll be right back.